From unknown parts of metropolitan New York City, I am the Hip, and this is the Lip.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Hipster, Hip and Lip Nation. That's right. It is mid-February, and we hope you're all good out there, wherever you may be. And the day after Valentine's Day, of course, the loveliest, most important holiday of the year, of course. And yes, we got so much going on in sports. We'll have to touch on everything, of course. Islanders, Knicks, the Rangers, a little bit of baseball, as there's no more NFL, people. That's right, no more NFL. But I just wanted to say that the biggest story, of course, right now in our country, it continues to be the ongoing mystery that has created quite the conundrum plaguing all citizens of our nation. It is a story so complex and fraught with international intrigue that there was once a time when such a tale could only be found in the middle of a Cold War-era Tom Clancy spy novel. It's the case of the missing Tom Brady Super Bowl jersey. Where is it? Where is the Super Bowl jersey, Mr. Hip?
I don't know. And I really care so much. Oh my God, I can't believe they can't find it. Oh.
But isn't that the story that's on the top of every morning when you wake up? Don't you say, have they found it yet? Where is it? Find Tom's jersey.
But the story of the moment right now is that the Knicks have 49 points with 8:27 left in the second quarter.
Yes,
how about that?
And I think Carmelo had like 20 in the first quarter.
So, yeah, they'll blow it by halftime, I'm sure. And maybe Charles Oakley's at the game. I haven't turned on the TV yet, but it is in OKC, so it's not like he might be welcome there.
Yep, he's not banned from there unless, if Dolan's at the, Dolan travel with the team is at the game, it probably has to sit like on the opposite side of the court. Oh, I see Charles. Get him away from me. Oh, my God.
I'll get somebody on OKC's security personnel fired for letting him into the building. Oh.
Get that guy out of here. Nah.
So we are a New York sports podcast. Yes. Hip and the Lip. Please rate us on iTunes. Rate us on iTunes. Yes. Oh, just do it. Oh, it takes all of about 10 seconds to find us. You can listen to us on Stitcher if you are an Android user. You can listen to us on our website, hipandthelip.com. You can follow the Lip's pointless tweets at Hip and the Lip. And
yes, indeed,
away we go. So look, this is our real first episode post significant NFL threads. Last week we broke down the Super Bowl and talked about how much Atlanta effed up the game to blow it. But look, there's no more NFL to cover here. And so what's interesting is that what has pretty much dominated the New York sports headlines, contrary to the Lip's opening remarks about a missing jersey in New York.
Tom Brady should enlist the services of the Hardy Boys. Maybe that's what he needs to do. They're the best at solving mysteries. Get those Hardy Boys out of retirement.
All right, we're gonna let that one go, and just so the Lip can get it out of his system. So be it. The story that has dominated headlines, if you've just looked at one newspaper this week on the sports section, on the back page, I'm sure it's been there referenced every single day. There's been an update. Everywhere. Since we recorded last week, right after we recorded last week was
it happened right before we recorded.
Right before we recorded, Charles Oakley was shoving people in the stands and was dragged out of MSG and arrested. And we really didn't know the backstory behind it other than the Garden putting out a press, or I should say the Knicks issuing a press release immediately saying that he was escorted out or whatever, and they hope he gets help. That was the first message, clearly painting this picture that Charles Oakley was just, completely at fault. So now we've had a week to hear from a lot of different sources, most notably James Dolan, who was seated very close to Oakley at the game. Charles Oakley, I didn't realize this, but apparently he has not had a good relationship, or has had no relationship with the Knicks for a long time, and apparently wasn't really allowed to be at the games wasn't
Yeah,
supposed
I
to.
actually do remember, he criticized like everybody. Like after he was traded, he was in the Marcus Camby trade in '99. I guess it was '99, and he criticized everybody. I mean, his management. I don't know if he specifically criticized Dolan, but he criticized management, even his former teammates. And I actually was a little perturbed at Oakley for taking shots at his teammates. I said, "You want to take shots at management, fine, but why are you going to take shots at your teammates?" So I wasn't thrilled with him.
Just a guy that put it. Oh, look,
but he's had
it doesn't surprise anybody that he did.
Yeah.
He's always put it out there on the court, and off the court, it's been the same. Just it is what it is. There's no holding.
He speaks his mind. He speaks what he believes is true.
Back with him, and he does. So, look, it looked really bad when it happened. I mean, the dude was just shoving the security. I mean, he was barely touched, and he was screaming and shoving, and it looked like he was just having a complete temper tantrum, and it didn't look good. So then things start to get leaked out or whatever over the next couple of days. And then James Dolan shows up on the Michael Kay show. And this is where it really picks up some steam, because James Dolan pretty much says that he thinks Charles Oakley has major problems and
calls him an alcoholic.
And pretty much calls him an alcoholic. Coming from someone who's had significant alcohol issues, James Dolan, who's admittedly had
alcohol issues.
Right. Which is just bizarre unto itself when you think of it that way. And, just painting, Oakley as the bad guy here, saying apparently Oakley said stuff to instigate, and that's why he was asked to leave. Apparently he said, I don't know if Dolan said that Oakley said racist things or just offensive things.
What could he have done in the 4 minutes that he was there? Number one. I mean, that's,
I don't know. Yeah. But the reality is that, clearly Dolan came on this radio show to say that Oakley was just completely in the wrong. And then a day or two later, you hear that there's like a conference call with Michael Jordan, Adam Silver, James Dolan, and Charles Oakley to have a meeting of the minds, if you will, or a truce, because it's just getting so ridiculous, this whole situation.
Everybody was on Oakley's side, because who's going to take the side of a spiteful, vindictive, just SOB that Dolan is, and we'll get to that. But
right. So look, they so they had that meeting or whatever the heck it was. Michael Jordan apparently is a friend of Oakley's, so the latest development in that respect is Dolan. I don't know how it was communicated, in what medium, through, or was it a statement, or Dolan was recorded saying this, but apparently Charles Oakley was banned for life right after that incident from MSG, and that got lifted. Now that's been lifted. That's been lifted. Right?
Banned for life. 3 days later, oh, you can come back. We're sorry, you can come back.
But Oakley has doubled down and hasn't just merely accepted the revocation of the lifetime ban, but he has asked for Dolan to apologize for calling Oakley an alcoholic, because that apparently damaged Oakley's reputation. And now we're in the standstill. Now we're in the standstill. And so this is drama at its I don't know, finest or most awkward or most ridiculous degree.
The Knicks are awful, so it's we need another story about the Knicks. So we got the perfect story now. Just to talk about the relationship between Oakley and Dolan and the ugly incident that happened at the Garden last week.
It was very ugly. So I know that you have some pretty strong feelings about the Knicks owner and his treatment of individuals as background to, I think, shed further light on, not just this as an isolated event, but thinking of it the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Right. And exactly. So if you're, trying to think about whose side you feel more strongly about, the Lips, historian interpretation of James Dolan's antics over the years, I think could shed light on that analysis.
Well, thank you, Mr. Hip. I mean, to me, I mean, I don't know if you disagree, but like to me, it's the big picture here is James Dolan. It has nothing to do with this incident. Look, I don't care if about the specific details of the Oakley incident. You're getting testimony from this one and that one. Oh, I was in section 120 and I was 3 rows behind and I saw him do this. No, I saw him do that. Oh, I don't care about any of that nonsense because it's all background noise to me. And whether or not they kiss and make up, Oakley and Dolan, that doesn't really interest me either. Look, I loved Oakley when he played. He was one of my favorite players. How could you not love the guy? The guy played hard every single night. Never took a game, a playoff ever. He was a guy that was diving for balls and playing hard, hard defense, actual defense, and rebounding the ball. And a lunch pail guy that was just so easy to root for. That he really exemplified everything that New Yorkers love to describe about themselves as, tough and gritty and whatever. So a lot of people loved Oakley, and that's why everybody jumped to defend him right away. Now, look, he was absolutely out of line with his actions last week. And, he should apologize for, the way he treated those security guards. No question. But again, this is all about James Dolan and the way he has owned the way that he has managed the Knicks, the way that he's approached his ownership of the Knicks since Daddy put the Knicks, the Rangers, MSG, Radio City Music Hall, all that in his Christmas stocking, all those years ago. It's almost 25 years ago already, or just after 94 when the Knicks and Rangers both made the finals. So ever since Daddy gave Jimmy, guitar-playing Jimmy, all these wonderful things, he has just absolutely poisoned everything he has touched. And that's the big issue here. And the bottom line is the Knicks have been a joke. They have been a laughing stock of a team, a circus of a team over the last 17 years. You think about those 90s teams that Dolan couldn't destroy yet because he had just gotten there, that was put together, by sound, competent management, obviously coached by Riley and then Van Gundy. And teams that we love to root for, that everybody in the night, that was the hottest ticket in town in the 90s. The Knicks were a, back page story, it seemed like almost every night during the basketball season. I'm sure you remember that, growing up, diehard Knicks fans, seeing successful teams that, never won a championship, granted, but made multiple finals and just, were great
Go
teams
down
that
the
were very
line
easy
with
to root for.
the Ewings and the
Ewing
Starks
and Oakley
and
and Mason
Houstons
Starks.
and Larry Johnson. Yeah, and Charlie Ward. All these guys.
The former Heisman Trophy winner, Charlie Ward, that went on to play basketball for the Knicks.
Florida State, yes. Florida State, yes. Nice.
Yes, yeah. Indeed, yes. And you think about where this team has been now over the last 17 years. They've won one playoff series in that time frame. They have had countless just bad, embarrassing, pathetic seasons. Just multiple embarrassing incidents, whether it be Isaiah Thomas or first Marv Albert getting canned because he dared criticize the team. Of course, that just goes to Dolan's spiteful, vindictive behavior towards anybody that utters anything negative about him or his operation or the way he approaches the team. So, from Marv Albert to Isaiah Thomas and the way he embarrassingly represented the team, to Anuka Brown Sanders, that whole awful incident, the sexual harassment case sued in which MSG had to eventually pay $11 million, to Donnie Walsh being brought in. Hey, they brought in a real executive. Now maybe they can right the ship. Oh, wait a minute. Dolan's got a medal in the team because that's what he does. So Donnie Walsh eventually says, you know what? I'm out of here. Screw you, Dolan. Goodbye. Of course, we all remember Dolan stepping in to orchestrate the Carmelo trade when Walsh begged him not to do it. Those years ago. Was it 5 years, 6 years ago already? Can't believe it's that long. But Donnie Walsh said, don't do this. We can either get him as a free agent or get him cheaper. You're giving up too much. Nope. Got to do this. Got to trade it for him now. So in comes Dolan and his buddy, apparently Isaiah Thomas. You remember that story. And here comes Carmelo, and they gave up, all those players and draft picks. And the Knicks, of course, have won nothing since. Not saying that's Carmelo's fault. This is not about Carmelo right now, but the way that was handled, and then, of course, bring in it. And then, the ultimate irony is the fact that when Phil Jackson was brought in, a couple of years ago, we all cheered, right? Everybody was going, all right, this is great, this is awesome. Why? Partly because of his 11 rings that he shoved in all of our faces, but also because we finally thought that there was a guy in there in the president's chair that Dolan couldn't come in and meddle with and go, oh, I want to do this because Jackson could say, get the hell out. I'm Phil Jackson, get out. And of course, that hasn't worked out too well, has it? But again, it's just goes to the poisonous and toxic environment that Dolan has created at that arena all these years. And it is unbelievable to me, the absolute utter contempt that Dolan displays towards the fans, the way his public relations, which are just, atrocious. I mean, that'll make it'll make the Trump administration blush just how bad they've been in relating to the media. And it's just unbelievable to me just how wretched of an owner he has been, particularly with the Knicks, because the Knicks are the team that he seems to care more about than the Rangers. The Rangers, whatever, I'll let my hockey guys handle that. The guys that actually hire do their jobs. And the Rangers have actually been a good team and have had success ever since the last or the second to last lockout, once Glenn Sather couldn't just throw money at free agents and the Burries and Lindrosses and Yagas of the world, and actually had to build a real team under a salary cap. So because of that, now they have had success. And actually, I was going to ask if you remember the Irving, just going back to Dolan now, the Irving Bierman story from last year, where Dolan told the 73-year-old Knick fan that wrote a scathing letter to Dolan, to basically to go screw himself and, go root for the Nets because the Knicks don't want you. I mean, if that was that was really the epitome of Dolan just showing his utter contempt for the fan base. And, I've railed, of course, listeners of our show know that I've railed against many owners, whether it be the Steinbrenners or Charles Wang or the New Islanders owners or John Mara for the way he's handled things. Soon with him being the owner of the team, and just the biggest
I have a question.
Ramification. So,
I have a question.
Yes.
You said one playoff win in 17 years.
Series. Did I say win? I meant to say series. If I said win, playoff series.
I'm sorry. No. You're right. You said one playoff series in 17 years.
Okay. Yep.
The Islanders were 23 years, right? Until they broke that streak.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how not too far away the Knicks are of getting to that point that the Islanders were at just
amazing,
a year
right?
ago.
Amazing.
I would have never guessed that. If you told me how many playoff series the Knicks won in the last 17 years, I probably would have said 3 or 4 or something like that. I didn't realize it was only one.
Yeah.
Jeez.
They make the conference finals. They lost to Indiana in 2000. Right. And then I think it was the year after they lost to the Raptors and Vince Carter and the upstart Raptors in the first round. And ever since then, then they got destroyed by the Nets the one year they made the playoffs. Remember Isaiah? Welcome to the playoffs. And then 3 minutes later, they were out after the Nets swept them and, barely broke a sweat in doing so. Yeah, the only playoff series win is the one that 54-win team a few years ago against the Celtics. That's it. That is it. 17 years.
Well, look, the end of the day, this is going to blow over in some shape or form, and then you just add it to the list of the James Dolan episodes, and there'll be many more to come as long as he's the owner. This guy's not going to change.
No, never.
I don't really see why. He's the owner, and he gets away with it.
Yeah, because he knows people have to come back. Yes, because people are
coming back, and so it's. Ranger tickets are expensive. Knick tickets are probably we haven't gone to a game this year, but I'm sure they're not Brooklyn Nets or New York Islanders price level. I'm sure you have to pay a little bit. They make a point to show the celebrities, especially the weekend games, who's in attendance.
I just laugh at that.
People still
that's
going.
What he loves. He relishes the sitting courtside with all the celebrities and the NBA stars running, past him. He loves the prestige, and that's exactly why he has made the Knicks his pet project over the Rangers.
Well, you don't get that with hockey because it's you're just not. It's not as intimate. The fan interaction with the ice because there's the boards and you don't really get to see people. You can see people in the stands. The Islanders make a point to show Ralph Macchio every time they're
anytime they spot a celebrity. Oh my God, there's somebody that people know here. Put the camera on them. The Garden, you have 40, 50, 60, celebrities, quote unquote, sitting around. If you get like LeBron there, or one of those teams, forget it. Then Yeah, and then the whole like lower section is just people that want to be seen there. It's like an outing for clients and an agent going, Leonardo DiCaprio. I don't know who else goes to the games. I don't know. Like, I got you tickets to the Knicks game courtside. Like, how cool, how special. I get to sit courtside at Madison Square Garden in the middle of Midtown Manhattan. How prestigious. I'm going to be seen.
You want to hear something shocking? Since we started the show, now it's 58-54. The Knicks are still winning, but now there's just a minute 24 left in the second. 58-57, excuse me.
Oh, what a shock.
So the Knicks had a 39-27 first quarter advantage, and now it just has gone back full swing, and 30-19 in favor of OKC. So there you have it.
Game over. Look at the amazing defense being played again here, folks. After the Knicks,
as they always do. They're losing, and they have 58 in the second. Sounds about right. They did lose one. They lost 131-123 in regulation the day after the Oakley incident. 131-123.
And the whole Oakley incident just distracted us from the fact that this team doesn't even try. And
then somehow they won against San Antonio. Yeah. How'd they beat the Spurs?
Yeah, they actually play defense. Look, that was they had a moment in that game. And they usually play well against the Spurs. For whatever reason, they actually, it's just matchup or whatever, but they usually play well against them. But, the Spurs are not an offensive juggernaut that they're going to – not that the Nuggets are either, but, I guess the Knicks
I think it helped that the Spurs shot 36% in the game, and maybe they just missed a lot of wide open looks and got really lucky.
Hey, look, the rim is going to be your best defender, I guess, sometimes. Yeah. So, and maybe John Stewart inspired the Knicks to actually play a little harder in that game.
All right, look, I think we're all kind of, I don't want to say over it, but it's just been such a ridiculous thread for a week. I want to move on from it now. I think we've talked about it ad nauseum. It's just a topic that's been covered a lot, and we have to put in our 2 cents, which of course are always different than everybody else's cents.
Indeed. So, but here's what I want to ask you, though. What are the ramifications? You've heard players come out, and you heard Draymond Green come out and basically say that's why nobody wants to go there. So it's for putting, the whole Oakley situation in the way that Dolan owns the team and his approach and all that, putting all that aside, what kind of ramifications is this going to have for the team? Are free agents actually going to stay away from MSG, the Mecca, Midtown Manhattan? Are they actually going to stay away now because of that SOB Dolan? And Phil Jackson calling out his star player via the Twitters.
That's where you need the Phil Jacksons and Jeff Hornacek to –
Jackson has not done what Riley has done in Miami, attracting the big free agents. Oh, I'm going to shove my 11 rings in their face and they're going to come to me. Well, no, they're not, Phil.
Are there any free agents that like the Knicks were gunning for that passed, like really big ones to this point?
Phil Jackson. Kevin Durant didn't even give them a meeting. Kevin Durant just said, thanks, no thanks, goodbye. I'm not even going to entertain you. That's a pretty big guy, right? See, here's the issue now. In the past, you brandished the New York Knicks logo, again, the Mecca, MSG, Midtown Manhattan, and said, if you come here, it's going to benefit you, financially and other ways besides basketball and all the marketing and promotional opportunities that you have. They don't need that anymore. LeBron, James has changed all that. You can go anywhere now and be a big star. It doesn't matter. Small market, big market. It doesn't matter anymore. So now you actually have to recruit these free agents with legitimate pitches. Why? That we're on the way up. We're going to be a winning team. We have good management. We have good structural hierarchy in place. We have good coaching. We have good player development. That matters now to these players. Not, look at us. We're the Mecca. We're MSG. How could you turn us away? You need us. You're going to have all these marketing opportunities in the big city. Wrong. Not the case anymore.
Yeah, it's really the onus gets put on Phil Jackson. That's what Dolan makes Jackson's job that much harder, and it's on him to figure it out. I don't know.
He's not going to because he's a good point. He's an old man that has no clue about. He doesn't even know what planet he's on.
Maybe. I know you like to get off at his cryptic tweets and try to get the
deeper
sub meaning of whatever it is underneath the surface there. But
the Zen Master. Nobody questioned the Zen Master.
We'll see. I mean, all right. So just thinking about this, who are like the top free agents to be this coming off season? Are there any?
I don't think it's really a big group. I don't know what Durant's
deal. I think is it the following year that the big group is coming?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I don't think there's any like legitimate like superstars at the end of this year. I mean, I'd have to look, and
so the Knicks are
explore that, but
yeah, it's going to be a couple more. They can threaten. They can threaten the 23-year streak that the Islanders had for one playoff series win. So we'll see if they can match it. We'll have to revisit that question in another 7 years.
Yeah, well, the Islanders now is 1-23. I don't think they're going to be adding to that total this year. So the Knicks, we'll see if they can get to 1-23.
Well, I mean, I think last night's performance for the Islanders, though, leads me to believe otherwise, and I think they're ready to take on any team in the Metropolitan Division. Yes.
Oh, a giant leap forward. Yes.
Oh my God, I was really looking forward to seeing them like win this game that would actually put them in a playoff spot. I know that it wouldn't really mean that they're going to be in the playoffs because they're just competing against so many other teams. It's so competitive right now in the standings.
Yep.
But they played pretty well in the first two periods. I felt like they hung with the Leafs.
Yeah,
in Toronto.
Yeah,
they had some decent chances, and look, they didn't score, and then everything just fell apart in the third period.
Yeah, I mean, well, yesterday, and you heard Wade after the game, and he's very direct. I mean, he doesn't, give you this nonsense like Capuano, battle level, play hard, battle hard, good walls, puck, good sticks, pucks head. I'm doing like a British accent. I can't even like perfect my.
I don't know why you're using a British accent.
I was going to say it sounds like I'm doing a British accent.
Thank you for calling yourself out on that, because I'm
not a Boston accent. Yeah, it comes and goes. But, I mean, Wade said, hey, this was humbling. We got our asses kicked. This was a humbling experience for us. You never would have heard Capuano say that, never. But, this is, the Islanders, as they played better, but we've talked about their defensive zone coverage has not been good in some of the games that they've won because they've scored 5 and 6 goals and were able to overcome some shoddy defensive zone play. Well, yesterday it was, at points in the game, abysmal. We've seen Adam Pelech now struggle. He made a bad play in the Colorado game on Sunday where he just made a bad read. It was that led to the only goal of the game for Colorado. But he had a turnover yesterday. A little bit of a hard luck turnover, but still a few other instances where the Islanders didn't get back and cover their guy. Unluckiness, the puck bouncing off of Nylander's shin pad into the net. So the Islanders had chances, and Anderson actually played like a competent goalie yesterday for Toronto. It's one loss, and you move on, and they have a lot of games, and we know that very condensed schedule, and with their games in hand, it just means that the Islanders have
played. They've played 55 games. They have 60 points. The seventh most. Just to do a quick standings update here in the Eastern Conference.
Yep.
The 7th place team overall in the Eastern Conference has 70. Well, it's a little misleading, but it has 75 points. And that's because there's 3 teams in the Metropolitan Division that are doing ridiculously well. The Capitals, Penguins, and Blue Jackets, and the Rangers are the 4th team.
And they've won 6 in a row themselves. Not that they've been very impressive, but they still won 6 in a row.
So, right. And so the Bruins only have 60, but the Rangers have more points as the 4th team in the Metropolitan Division than the first place team in the Atlantic Division.
Yeah. That first place team just fired their coach and hired the guy that I mentioned.
I didn't want you to get there on that.
All right.
Like, I didn't think anybody would. No, but I mean, yeah, it's very fair to bring it up about the Canadians who fired their head coach yet they're in first place. Yeah. And they hire the coach.
Was just fired, an hour
I was
before.
just fired from a team 6 points behind them in the standings.
Yeah.
It's just so ridiculous.
Pretty funny. And actually, a little interesting tidbit. Second time this has happened now where Terrien was fired by Montreal and Julian hired. Literally the second time that exact thing has happened, if you can believe that.
I can't. I did not know, and that's so ridiculous. It's all right. Well, so remember the way that the NHL playoffs work is you take the top 3 teams from each division and then the 2 wild cards thereafter, right?
Yep.
So the Rangers are 4th place in the Metropolitan Division with 75 points, yet the Bruins are 3rd place in the Atlantic with only 64. So basically, it's the next team with the next team after the Rangers in the Metropolitan or the Bruins in the Atlantic for points. Right now, it's the Maple Leafs with 63. They had 61 going into the game last night, and the Islanders had 60. They were only 1 point back. If the Islanders won, they would actually be sitting in that last wildcard spot. But, of course, we know that didn't happen. Now, they got to host the New York Rangers tomorrow night in a big rivalry game, and they're going to be all pumped up for it. And, you just hope they come out like they did last year in that game where they scored 3 goals in, like, the first 5 minutes, the New York Islanders. But I don't know. Some nights you see them play pretty well. Other nights they just unravel. So,
yeah, they're getting more depth scoring. I mean, there are things since Wade has taken over that you like. They seem to have some stability with their lines. The Tavares line has been together now for a few weeks, however long it's been. They've been playing very well. So they've been generating offense. Their power play has been much better. Going into yesterday's game, they were 10 for the last 33. Their penalty killing, I didn't even realize this had been number 1 in the NHL going back to like middle of December. So almost 2 months. So their penalty killing have been a lot better. And the biggest difference really is Nick Leddy, who has just been worlds better since Wade has basically taken the shackles off of him. And we've talked about in the past just how he's such a great puck moving, or specifically skating and puck carrying defenseman. And when he's leading the rush and taking charge with the puck on his stick, their team is just so much better. And you just see how good how good Leddy can really be now that the shackles are off. He had 15 points in his last 16 games, going into last night at +9, and you can just see the complete world of difference in him. But again, their defensive zone coverage has been bad, and they really need to tighten it. The points were completely uncovered at times yesterday. Butchie actually pointed that out on their second goal. Toronto, the Islanders completely collapsed in their own zone and had all their guys basically at the hash marks or below, which if you do, it's just a recipe for disaster. So they have to tighten that up, or they're not doing anything. And they go on their 9-game road trip. Starting, when is it? Like in a week and a half, and they go to central part of the country where they'll play St. Louis and Chicago and Dallas. Oh no, not St. Louis actually. So they play, I think, Chicago, Minnesota, or something, and then they go to the Western Canada part of the trip, only to come back to Central United States and play St. Louis, I think, and then come home. So whoever the schedule maker was, I guess, drunk when he did that. But 9-game road trip, and they have been bad on the road this year.
Look, I felt really good when the Islanders beat the Flyers on Thursday night, the night after we recorded our last show. Grice looked great. It was in Philly. It was an NBC Sports Network game with Flyers Homer announcers. I mean, geez, I was so annoying. Like, it was just so painful to watch because you could hear the excitement in the voice of the play-by-play announcer when the Flyers were on a break. And the difference when the Islanders were, but man, so the Islanders won that, and then look, they had a Saturday afternoon, just complete, no show again. This was something we talked about last year all the time, where they just would suck on Saturday afternoon games, and sure enough, in Ottawa, zero goals.
The Earth's at that point in its axis, and they just go to sleep.
Then they came back home and hosted the worst team in the NHL, the Avalanche, and took care of business there. And then I'm thinking last night, okay, they could build off of that win against Colorado where they scored 5 goals. Go into Toronto and show that this is Toronto is the team right now that is ahead of them, and that was the case last night. And they just. As you said, they just had a lot of issues, and now they circle. They go back to Barclays with a big rivalry game that we're looking forward to watching.
Yeah, what made last night even more painful for me is all of this nonsense with the Toronto media and their like complete
I'm sure that's how they'd say it in Toronto as well.
Yes, AUL, right? There's a U in like almost like all their words. That's not in our variation of English, but yeah. So the Toronto media has had a hard on for John Tavares. I mean, since he was like 16 and broke the whatever record, 90 goals he scored in juniors as a 16-year-old and got the exceptional status and yada yada. So they had been, pleasuring themselves to the idea of John Tavares one day playing for the Maple Leafs. And Steve Simmons of the Toronto Sun actually advocated for John Tavares when the Islanders had the number 1 overall pick in the 2009 draft to pull a Manning or a Lindros or a John Elway back in the day and refuse to play for the Islanders. And, of course, the hope would be that they would have to force the Islanders to trade him to Toronto. Yay, we want our native son, even though he's not actually a Toronto native, even though he's a native of a town that's like an hour outside of Toronto. I don't know, whatever. But, there was a recent article in the National Post, which is a Toronto-based Canadian publication. And I'll just read a quote very, very quickly. That's too bad, referring to Tavares. It's a shame, really. If Tavares were a bit more selfish, a bit less devoted to a team and a fan base that does not seem as devoted to him, he might one day have a chance to win the Stanley Cup. F you, Toronto. Are you kidding me with that? I know who cares. It's some, yuts, just writing, hoping that Tavares will one day come to Toronto. But you know what? Screw you. He's ours, and you're not getting him.
Wow.
They even referred to Kyle Poso and Franz Nielsen as substandard talent, and then made the point of saying that—
Were they both in the All-Star game?
Yeah, they call them substandard talent, and then made the point that, the Islanders aren't so good this year because they let them go. They let Franz and Kyle go. In the same article, they call them substandard talent, and they're not as good this year because they let those 2 players go. A little bit contradictory, I would say.
No, maybe we should get him on, get the writer on the show. Yes,
I would love to. Reach out. I think it was a her. I think it was a girl that wrote it, if I'm not mistaken. National Post, I think, is the name of the publication.
Let's get her on.
Yes, Steve Simmons of the Toronto Sun always has some interesting little quips about Tavares and the Islanders. Kills them that he's not with them and that he's with us, that he's the Islanders.
Look, the Islanders look, we can acknowledge this. They've dug themselves out of the hole that they put themselves into earlier in the season. The issue is there's so many other teams in the thick of this that they have to play better than like 6 other teams to get in the playoffs, basically. And it's they really have to continue playing
so many teams
like they have since they fired Capuano. Yeah. So as far it goes back to your point earlier where we're not getting excited that the playoffs are likely for this team. But I think at the very least they should stay competitive in the race. They just, it's just the way that this is shaking out. There's too much separation right now, and they're in the division where the Metropolitan Division where it's stacked, and since it's based on top 3 teams.
Well, they're not. I mean, that we know
in each division. So
the only spot they have a chance for is the very last spot. Because right now they have no chance to even catch the Rangers, who are in the second to last spot. The second to last they're
15 points behind the Rangers. Yeah. I mean, so it would take a ridiculous run that the Islanders have not had in probably 24 years to make up for that.
And they probably have to go back a lot further than that, like the run that they're going to probably need to make the playoffs. It's again one spot that they're competing for, and it's with how many teams that are all jumbled in that Eastern Conference.
7
I mean,
teams,
right
maybe?
now, Detroit has the least amount of points. I mean, they're, at 54 points, and Toronto has the last spot, right? So they're 9 points behind. I mean, is Detroit officially done? I mean, whatever.
Oh,
I guess. They were just all jumbled in there. I mean, everybody everybody still thinks they have a chance, and and they have a 9-game road trip coming up. I know that they were good on their road trip at this time last year, as we talked about and joked about in the Western Canada swing. But if they continue to play like they do in their own zone, I don't care how many goals they score. Grice has been good, but they can't overcome the hole that they, like you said, the hole that they've dug for themselves, because that hole has not been filled in yet. It's still existing, and the Islanders could very easily fall right back in the hole. To take a line out of the Simpsons, okay, go in the hole. which is a hole I can crawl
You
into.
you like your holes. We get it. So
okay, go into hole.
We have to look. We will get into football talk. It's what people like to hear. We have to cater to what people are interested in.
Yes.
Victor Cruz is currently not a New York Giant. Rashad Jennings is not a New York Giant. Ryan Fitzpatrick is not a New York Jet.
Shocking.
I don't. This is all cap room space maneuvers and safe space. The hip is mumbling. So look, do you have any umbrage that you want to pay here to Victor Cruz?
Well, I mean, since we've been, ragging on other, New York sports figures, we'll give a, high praise to Victor Cruz, who deserves nothing but, just a class act all the way, putting the stupid boat incident aside. It's sad that the Giants had to let him go, and they made the right move. I mean, there was speculation, could they bring him back at a reduced, salary, whatever. I think his time here is done. I think it's time for both parties to part ways. I think Victor Cruz will catch on somewhere else. I'm rooting for him still. But, it's just one of those rags to riches stories. An undrafted player from UMass. Of course, everybody remembers the Jets preseason breakout game, 3 touchdowns. But what's funny is that game came in a season where he didn't play on the team at all. That was in, I think, 2010. And he made no mark on the team in that season. It was the next year that he finally got his chance. They played the Eagles, and I remember this was in their Super Bowl season, their last Super Bowl season. He got a chance against the Eagles, 3rd game of the year. I remember vividly how he was awesome in that game. It was like, who's Victor Cruz? Where'd this guy come from? Oh, yeah, wasn't he that guy that had the 3 touchdowns against the Jets in the preseason like last year? And, oh, yeah, that's who he is. And he just took off right from there, became a fantasy football waiver wire darling. And if I know one of our listeners, one of our regular listeners, picked up this player, because everybody, I think, in our league was skeptical. In our league, was skeptical that Victor Cruz, was going to continue this. Like, oh, who the hell is this guy? Oh, probably like a 1-week wonder, flash in the pan. But this listener, if he knows who he is, had the foresight to pick him up, and of course went on to have a 1,500-yard season. So. Just to throw that little tidbit.
How did the season turn out for our regular listener in the fantasy football standings?
I don't think so good.
not for that reason. Okay.
Yes. But, it's sad to see him go. We'll miss him. He was a great Giant. Just a.
What didn't he have that 99-yard touchdown?
Yes, against the Jets. That second to last game of that year, Christmas weekend. Yep, the Giants are losing, and Eli Manning, 3rd and 10, drops back in his own end zone, hits Cruz on a little out pattern. Should have been a first down, knocked out of bounds for 12-yard gain. Instead, there he goes, 99 yards later, and all of a sudden the tables turn, and the fortunes, change dramatically for the Giants, who went on to win a Super Bowl, and for Rexy and the Jets, who tanked and crumbled and fell apart, and the Jets still haven't put it back together yet, so. Change the fortunes and directions of those two franchises dramatically. If that play doesn't happen, who knows who wins that game? Maybe the Jets do. Who knows? And Rashad Jennings, we hardly knew ye. Good, good player, solid player. Did everything right.
It's going to be the Paul Perkins show.
I don't want Adrian Peterson. Stay far. I don't want any part of him. I know Manish.
Who's that? Manish Mehta?
He's our old friend Manish.
Yep.
Get him. Go get Adrian. No, Manish. No.
Paul Perkins and Shane Vereen's back. So I think that's actually a good 1-2 punch. I mean, provided they stay healthy.
Yeah, you want to bring another veteran guy on the cheap? Fine. Go ahead. But, draft a guy in the 5th round that you love. Like, oh, I can't believe this guy dropped. We got to take him. Fine. They don't need Adrian Peterson.
I don't think Paul Perkins is going to pull an Andre Williams and just be like, hideous, can't carry the ball 3 yards a carry. Right? Like, I don't think he's going to be that disastrous. So I think going with
he's
him
a talented guy.
1-2, those two as a 1-2 with a solid veteran, backup for both of them would be a pretty good situation. The thing is, they have to figure out their passing game. I mean, after Odell and Shepard is, he's going to go into second year and he'll step up a bit, but they have no tight end play. Who's going to be their third receiver? I think those raise some pretty good questions for the Giants offensively. They really struggled offensively this year.
They did. I mean, they need an offensive lineman. So. Yeah, in the worst way. They need a left tackle in the worst way. I mean, that's what they have to start with that offense. I mean, running back, they can address wide receiver. Tight end, they need. I think they have to bring in a tight end, whether they draft or go out and get a Martellus Bennett. But they need a left tackle in the worst way. That's number one for them. Number one, 2, and 3 is a left tackle, and fix that offensive line. Keep Eli Manning.
Jets number one is maybe like free safety or something.
Of course, yes. Maybe D. Milner is available still. Maybe they can bring him back to play safety.
maybe they could re-sign Shaq Evans. Maybe he could become a wide receiver that turns from nothing into something like Victor Cruz. Yes. Oh wait, they already drafted Shaq Evans and he's not with the team anymore.
What about the other guy, Devin Smith? Is he still alive? Wasn't he like their second round pick?
Yep.
The Jets. Maybe Tony Romo. Dreaming of Tony Romo in a Jet uniform next year.
Hey, by the way, I heard on the radio tonight.
Yes.
On the way home, so I'm transitioning now to baseball because pitchers and catchers, blah blah blah. We're here. We're getting ready.
Sports? Relevant again?
We're a month and a half away from major league games that count again. So Zach Wheeler, Mets starting pitcher, who just I don't know the last time he threw a pitch in a major league game, but when he was playing. When he first came up, was pretty decent and seemed he had some pretty electric stuff. Inconsistent command, typical for a young hurler.
Yep. Carlos Beltran trade.
Blew his arm out, and I heard today that elbow inflammation.
Oh God!
Apparently, there's scar tissue, and Dan Worthen, the Mets pitching coach, was recorded by a reporter saying that they just have to take, every cautious measure possible and baby him essentially because he was penciled in to be one of the Mets starters this year, and they just don't want to jeopardize that.
I mean,
it's just a shame for that guy in general. I mean,
it is. God. I mean, you feel bad. I mean, anytime because there's so many success stories with Tommy John. I mean, it's almost so routine now. Like when it first started, it was like, oh my God, can this guy ever come back? Now it's just all right. Go have Tommy John. He'll be back. He'll be better. He'll be as good as new, if not better. You'll have more zip on your fastball. Away we'll go. That's not everybody. I mean, you think that's everybody. It's not.
Is he another Dustin McGowan?
Oh, yeah. Who was that guy? That was Toronto. Blue Jay, right?
Yeah, electric stuff. Had to go under the knife and was just never the same. Could never stay healthy. I think he's still hanging around in the league. I think he pitched last year, but this was a guy that, I had a big heart on. I thought he was going to be like...
You mean like Drew Hutchinson?
Yeah, McGowan more so when he was with Toronto. Just... Dustin McGowan. These are the guys I get excited about. It's getting me excited about baseball. Just thinking about Dustin
Drew Smiley still get you as excited as he did last year. Drew Smiley.
Oh God, that guy let up so many home runs last year. So many home runs. Oh.
Is he on Tampa Bay still? They dump him. I don't know. Why do I think they dump him?
I don't remember actually.
Does he make you smile, Drew Smiley? He still makes you smile.
Let's see. He's on Seattle. I think he got traded to Seattle.
Okay,
look, Safeco is a pitcher's park. He might surrender 2 or 3 fewer home runs than he did last year, which
only like 40 home runs will surrender this year.
Exactly.
Oops-a-doodle.
Look, that was that game. You look at the stat line. It was in the first couple of starts of the year. Drew Smiley shut down Boston. In Boston, he had like 13 strikeouts. It was like this 2-hitter in 7 innings, and you're like, this guy's on his way to a ridiculous season, and it was anything but. And I know nobody else really cares other than those doing their month and a half research preparations for their fantasy baseball drafts. Yes, it's time to start right now.
Right now. Well, I just want to say the most compelling story, baseball-related story, that was on the back page of the New York Post a couple of days ago was that Ioannis, our old friend, just bought a ranch. And the New York Post felt that was not just back page worthy, but like a whole fold-out 3 pages worthy. Ioannis Cespedes just bought a ranch. Oh my God! Let's make that into a 3-page story.
Is he checking out the Ioannises of his livestock?
I guess so. He's got to make sure that's very tender.
Well, to keep the breeding rate at a formidable pace, I suppose that's the case. Where's the ranch?
I don't even know. I saw the back page. I was just like, what? Like they had nothing better than to put Ioannis buying a ranch on the back page.
Look, you know what? Like, this is a slow, like, post NFL.
Oh my God!
Especially with the Knicks being what they are. Look, the Rangers are good.
About the Islanders and right. Hockey, nobody cares. Right.
I mean, I listened to Boomer and Carton this morning while I was in the car for like an hour, and with they have the sport update with Jerry Recco, and he goes through like all the different the events from the night before. He must have mentioned like 3 college basketball scores. Seton Hall or St. John's or the local teams, and then I can't remember who it was. Boomer Carton said, "So is that everything?" He's like, "Oh, and the Islanders lost 7-1." Oh, okay, and it's time for commercial now.
Oh yeah, and that hockey team in Brooklyn.
There's more discussion about the Nets and how they're on a 15-game home losing streak, and I think a 13-game overall losing streak, and
they are
and how
oh my God, they are just a disaster.
Somebody made a point on the radio
at the end of the tunnel. No light at the end of that tunnel.
Somebody made a point on the radio, like because the sports radio personality talking about this said he used to cover some basketball team game. I don't know who it was. Whatever. He used to be play-by-play announcer.
Yep.
He just was like, there was this time where they lost 8 or 9 in a row, and at that point, it's just really hard. The job gets really hard because how can you genuinely show excitement for people like tuning into the game when the teams just keep losing so many consecutive games? It's like you're struggling to find any bit of positivity to for people watching to feed off of. When the team is that poor, like, I mean, very few people are watching to begin with, but you still have to be professional and you still have to do your job and seem like you're into it. But are you really into it when the team's lost 13 games in a row?
I mean, people go. It's just like an event. It's like the Knicks. It's like, oh, it's an event. It's an outing in Brooklyn. Oh, Brooklyn's the cool hip place to be now. Hip's the place to be. And Barclays Center, it's so cool and nice and new, and that's why people go. I mean, you told the story. You went to a Nets game and nobody there gave a damn about what was going on the court. It was a social gathering. That's what it was, right? I mean,
and the Nets lost 129-125 in regulation tonight.
I want to throw another stat out that I just find astounding. So Brook Lopez is a center, right? He's a really, he's a good player, right? 7-foot center, 268 pounds. I have his stats in front of me. How many rebounds a game does this 7-foot center average a game? How many rebounds a game do you think this guy averages?
Well, I see tonight he had 36 points and 4 rebounds. So, I mean, it can't be good. What was he have, like 5.7 rebounds or something?
Oh, close. You very, very close. 5.2 rebounds a game for this 7-foot center. You would think by accident.
How many minutes does he play? In
30 minutes a game?
Oh, God.
I mean,
that's brutal.
I mean, you would think by accident, just standing by the basket, 7 feet tall, and the ball would fall into your hands. 5. I mean, Bill Russell. I was just like listening to watching the Cleveland game, and they were talking about like Chamberlain and Russell in the year that Chamberlain averaged 50 points a game and like 22 rebounds a game, and like Bill Russell averaged like 24 rebounds a game that year. I mean, just like
this. How about the stat line for Brooke Lopez tonight?
36 and
points.
4.
Yeah, 8. But
Center.
You probably don't look. Don't look.
I'm not looking.
How many blocks? How many blocks do you think he had tonight?
I mean, I guess he does block shots every now and again. So if you're asking me, it probably isn't 0 because it's possible for a center to have no blocks in the game and not be like, oh my God. So I'll guess probably a bit 5 blocks.
8 blocks.
He had 8 blocks. Oh wow.
And how many 3-pointers did he hit? Don't look.
I'm not looking. I guess you're asking because he actually does that now. I don't think he ever shot threes before, did he? 6.
Yes.
6. So 8 blocks, 7-foot center, 8 blocks, and 6 3-pointer and 4 rebounds. Wow, what is that line?
And it's yeah. Oh my God, what a ridiculous stat line.
I think that's our hipster moment of zenith, I would say right there. Oh wow, that is incredible. You know what?
I'll throw this in as a potential secondary hipster moment of zenith.
All right.
You know, something that we don't really talk about on the show that maybe is worth throwing in there every now and again are these random ailments that I seem to discover, or I guess
you contract.
I seem to experience, right? Contract, however you want to put it. So the latest development is a subconjunctival hemorrhage.
What?
And it occurs when a tiny blood vessel breaks just underneath the clear surface of the eye.
So I know conjunctivitis is an eye, so I would have guessed eye.
Right. The conjunctiva can't absorb blood very quickly, so the blood gets trapped. You may not even realize you have a subconjunctival hemorrhage until you look in the mirror and notice the white part of your eye is bright red.
All right.
This just adds to the laundry list of
so you looked in the mirror.
Innocuous ailments.
So you looked in the mirror and you saw that your eye is bright red, and you Googled the symptoms.
No, my wife looked at me in the eye and said, "That is gross. I can't look at you. What the hell is that?" That is how that is how the ailment was discovered.
And
I feel like I'm getting I'm earning a partial medical degree, MD, with these different ailments that I happen to experience between gout and ganglion in the ganglion cyst in the wrist and
sty in the eye.
Styes, and it just goes on. So this is the latest
folks, look
new
up varicocele. I'm not going to mention anything more. Just if you have time, Google varicocele. That's all I'm going to say. Nothing else. That's my co-host, Mr. Hip. Also had contracted that at some point. I don't know if he still has it, but
it's all fun. Yeah. Well, there's plenty more to share, and maybe we'll reveal one a week.
Yeah, we should. We'll hold back. Yeah, one new illness a week, a new segment.
Can all learn together what to look out for. Not to be a hypochondriac and freak out when you have a subconjunctival hemorrhage.
I can't even pronounce that still. Subconjunctival.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. All right.
If you go to if you watch the YouTube feed, you could definitely see the redness in the bottom portion of my eye. If you really want the live diagnosis, there it is. So we're just covered a lot of bases.
We may be inadvertently helping somebody out. Maybe like one of our listeners had looked in the mirror, saw like a big red blotch in their eye, and just said, it's nothing. And then, oh my God, maybe it's possible that I have also contracted subconjunctival hemorrhage. And this sty thing on my eye. Wow, who knew this?
Something totally different, but another eye condition. But just so you're aware, the subconjunctival hemorrhage, it could just happen. There's no real, you can't do no preventative measures, and it just goes away on its own, apparently. So we'll see in a week's time whether it's subsided or decided to expand a little bit.
I can't. Well, stay tuned, folks. Next week's episode, stay tuned. What will happen to Mr. Hip's subconjunctival hemorrhage? Will it expand or will it contract? Find out next week. Yes, hip and the lip.
Okay, so all right, back to our usual course of business. How about our last segment of the show?
Just before we get to that, a shout out to Jaromir Jagr. Happy 45th birthday, Jaromir Jagr. You're third place on the all-time NHL scoring list, and you're not going away anytime soon. So how about that, Jaromir Jagr came into the league when we were 6 years old. Amazing, unbelievable. So. All right. That guy's incredible. All right. Next. All right. And that brings us to the Hipster, your favorite segment, of course, and mine, the Hipster beer of the week. Apparently, the Hipster, Mr. Hip himself, just sampled the beer a little while ago. Take it away, Mr. Hip.
Well, it's fitting. It's the name of the beer is Major Look, so I'm trying to make everyone look at the subconjunctival hemorrhage on the YouTube feed.
Major Look.
Major Look is a beer, an IPA that was just canned by the local Brooklyn brewery, Interborough Spirits and Ales, which actually is both a distillery and a brewery. It is located in East Williamsburg, Brooklyn, and I have made 2 trips there, and it's a shame that it just opened last year because it's on the same block that I used to live on in Williamsburg, and I could have walked there.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's just a big shame, but so it goes in life. They're there now, and they do can releases every few weeks. You can just show up and buy the cans from them. They have a minor distribution coverage, but very small. You'd be, I've only seen their cans at a couple of places total. But they are up. Their beer is good. Major Look was a great IPA. It's described as green papaya, piney aromas with juicy fruit taste and a clean, bright finish. Brewed with Maris, otter, and wheat. It was good.
Wait, it has Maris otter? You didn't tell me that.
Of course. Well, I was just trying to save the best for last. Maris otter is an important component to the IPA list of ingredients. Yeah, so just very solid. Check them out. There's a handful of benches there. You could just hang. It's actually next to like a one of those like big storage facility, like personal public storage unit places.
Yeah.
And there's in typical Brooklyn fashion, there's no sign that says Interborough. The only sign they have is their logo.
Is there an awning?
There's an awning, I believe, but the whole sign is they have 2 arrows pointing in opposite directions. That is their logo, and that is what you see outside their door.
That's interesting.
That's how you know you're there. But of course, they don't have the name. Drop in the can.
All right.
Anyway, there's your Hipster Beer of the Week. And so, look, next week we'll hopefully not be talking about James Dolan, and we'll be talking about how the Knicks have lost to the we can't say it yet, but they're currently
on their way to another loss.
They're on their way now, down by 8 points with 26 to go in the third. Of course, as we kind of initially predicted, whether you want to call it cynically or not at the beginning, it happened. And look, we'll see how the hockey's shaking out. We'll be a week closer to baseball. We'll be saying that several more weeks. But I'm looking forward to it. And thanks for listening. Again, rate us on iTunes, please.
Yes,
And-
rate us. Tell us how.
all right.
All right. Oh, an NBA All-Star game this weekend. I'm so excited. With the recap, the whole game. Full breakdown, folks. We promise. Full breakdown. All right, next.
Office.
All right, next. All right.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.